Even with all the advances and modern technology and social media, it can still be difficult sometimes to find a group of people that want to play tabletop role-playing games. So I'm going to break down some of the tools and ways you can find a good group for you. Hey fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner, and welcome back to the channel where I help you build your world and master your game so you can have the best role-playing game experiences. Before we get into the thick of it, I want to ask you one question for you to answer at the end of the video in the comments below. What steps are you going to take this week to help yourself find an adventure party to play with? Now, as we're talking about the different subjects and the different methods of finding a good adventure party, I want you to remember that all of this is based on your comfort zone. And if you want to find a good adventure party, you're going to have to push yourself out of that comfort zone just a little bit, especially if you're not a super extroverted person like myself. I'm not an extrovert, but in order to find an adventure party, sometimes you gotta put a little more effort out there and find something. The reason I'm making this video is someone reached out to me, someone took the steps to reach out and said, hey, I want to get into D&D or role-playing games, where do I start? And so that prompted me to think, oh, you know what, I hadn't talked about finding an adventure party yet. I haven't done this topic. And really, there's a lot of tools out there that help accelerate the process and make it relatively easy to find people to play with if you know the right things to do. The first place you probably want to look, and I recommend this for everyone as a first starter, is talk to people. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your coworkers, talk to people in person, and just get the information out there. Let people know that you're interested in playing tabletop role-playing games, whether it's Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder or Wrath and Glory. No matter what system you want to use, just get that information out there. You'd be surprised how many people are actually interested as well. Dungeons & Dragons popularity has been on the rise over the last several years, and with shows like Critical Role and Adventure Zone and the various other Dungeons & Dragons shows, people know what Dungeons & Dragons is now. It's not like a secret. It's not a careful occult thing to do. It's very public. So you might be surprised who you talk to that is probably also interested in playing the game. And that's a really good place to start because you know the person face to face. You may have worked with them. They might be a family friend or a sibling or just an old acquaintance. You never know what you're going to find. But the first step I always say is get yourself out there. Let people know. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid of being the nerd. I'm not afraid of it anymore. I used to be afraid of being a nerd, and I talk about that in my, where I came from video, and I talk about my high school time where I didn't put myself out there, and then even later how difficult that was for me to put myself out there. But now I look back and I'm like, that was dumb. I shouldn't have hesitated so much. And I don't want you to do that either. I want you to, grab life by the horns, or grab the potential D&D adventure party by the horns and run with it. The next source that I want you to look at is the internet. Now, everything on the internet needs to be taken with this sort of precautionary step where you don't know the people on the internet necessarily unless you've met them in person. There's a certain level of anonymity that's out there, and you have to just be careful. But the internet can be a good place, and with a good community surrounding the different games, you can find some good games to play with that match your playstyle, which we're going to talk about playstyles in a little bit and why that's important for your role-playing game group. But first, let me share some of the cool resources on the internet. First, that I recommend, and this is probably the more sketchy, a little more dangerous, just because it's on Reddit. If you go to reddit.com/r/LFG, that means looking for group. It's a forum on Reddit, or a subreddit, I should say. It's a subreddit about finding gaming groups. And people go on there, they post their game, they say if they're going to play online or in person, and whatnot. All this information they post on there, and you can find games to play with on Reddit. They have all different types of game systems going on there, all different kinds of posts. It's a very open forum that pretty much everyone is allowed to post on, so you shouldn't be afraid to go on there and look around and see what's available, and then, take your steps in order to join a group. That way, it is an option. In addition, there's also the website meetup.com where you can make a little more formal meetup kind of schedule where you can say, I would like to play Dungeons & Dragons, here's the event, here's the time and the place and all this, and then find people through meetup.com who will want to play with you. I've seen it work several times. There was a place I would go to play, and I had a group, my homebrew group that I was playing with, but then we found out very quickly there were other meetup.com groups that would show up and play at the same place. So it's out there. It's a possibility. If you're in a smaller town, it might not work as well because there's less people if you're trying to do a in-person kind of game, but it's an option. It's something to think about if you're in a bigger city or in an area with a lot of people, or if you just want to play online, meetup.com is an option as well. If you are more interested in Dungeons and Dragons as opposed to Pathfinder, if you go to dndbeyond.com's forum, there is a whole forum based on looking for groups. And this place, I have not experienced it myself. When I browsed around a little bit, I saw that they have a lot of postings, but I know someone who found a group on there, and they told me they really enjoy the group, they got along very well, and that made me happy because it's a family member who found this group, and so it's a good thing. You know, these forum posts are out there. The D&D Beyond community is very strong and growing, and if you want to get into Dungeons and Dragons, but don't want to take the step into the organized play, which we're going to cover shortly, the D&D Beyond forums is a good place to go if you're looking for Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I mentioned organized play, and that's the next place to look, is the organized play based on these companies. So on Facebook, they actually have groups. They have one called D&D Adventures League on Facebook, so I'm going to leave all these links in the description below. You can join the group if you're interested in playing and find a game in your area. The same goes for the Pathfinder Society. There's a Facebook group that's all about playing Pathfinder games in these organized methods. In addition, the Pathfinder website, paizo.com, has a forum setting, which I'm going to leave in the description below, of course, where you can go find Pathfinder games. So there's all these different places, all these different online posting sites where you can go and find some people to meet up with, whether you're playing online or you want to play in person. Those are options for you. The last on my list of places to go to find an adventure group is the company organized play. This is D&D Adventures League or Paizo's Pathfinder Society or Starfinder Society. These are the things that were made by the companies in order to get people to get out and play more. The reason this is kind of the last on my list is because it's very open. It is very accepting, as role-playing games should be, very accepting of people, but you can never really be sure what kind of experience you're going to get just by going to these events or these types of organized role-playing games. D&D, Adventures League, and Pathfinder Society are ongoing campaigns in an ongoing kind of world that the companies have created, where every game that takes place, so every adventure party is a part of one group, of one world provided by the company, provided by Wizards of the Coast or Paizo. It's this big living world that they've created where all players can come and play. The kind of restrictiveness you find in this, though, is in order to give the game a nice balance and to make sure everyone can be on the same level strength-wise as everyone else who participates, they have several rules in place about what you can and cannot bring to the table in a Adventure League game or in a Pathfinder Society game. For example, with the D&D Adventure League, they say core rulebooks +1, and I've read through the rules a little bit. I haven't gotten a chance to go out and play with it, but from my understanding of that statement of core rulebooks +1 is when creating a character, you're allowed to use anything from the core 3 rulebooks plus one of the other supplemental rulebooks that are out there. Meaning Xanathar's Guide to Everything, or what's that other one, Mordekainen's Tome of Foes, or Volo's Guides. You have all these different options, but you only get to pick one. So you can't make a character that draws from all the different source books in D&D Adventure League. You can only do a few. And this is a good thing for this kind of play because everyone's got to be on the same page. Everyone wants to, have a similar enjoyable experience. And if someone is drawing from everywhere and found the best way to optimize their character and make them super strong, but stronger than everyone else, it won't be as fun for some other players. I believe the Pathfinder Society has similar rules. It's something you'll want to look into, and the rules and all that is also going to be linked down below. You can find all of this information for you if that's something you're interested in doing. Good side, that is also the downside of these organized kind of play games, the good thing is they're hosted generally at local game shops. They can be hosted anywhere, but most local game shops host their own, D&D Adventure League night, where they have several games running, and anyone's pretty much welcome to come walk in and sit down and play. That's a great thing. That's an easy way to get into the game. If you just want to try it out once, you can walk in, sit down, and play, and join a table. The downside of that is they usually get very crowded and they usually get very noisy, and so you're sitting in a room with 4 other games going on at once and you have a hard time kind of hearing the DM, or if you are the DM, you might have a hard time hearing your players, and so forth. So keep that in consideration if you're thinking about Adventure League, that you can't always get the perfect experience for you necessarily. If that's what you want, if you want a crowded room full of people, cool, that's fine. I've been meaning to go try it out. I really need to get out there and try it because I know it's going to be a good learning experience for me. But that is an option for people who might not know where to start. You can just walk in and start playing pretty much right away. And they'll probably already have some pre-made characters for you can just grab and use. I mean, I feel like that's what I would want to have, but I haven't read that in the rules, so don't take my word for that. And the last thing I want to talk about with finding your own adventure party, and it's pretty basic. I haven't gotten into real in-depth like tips and tricks of convincing people to play with you, because there is no tips and tricks to it. It is just be yourself and talk to people and you know, find your group, get yourself out there and find it. But the thing I will say, and this is something I believe is valuable for you as the player or you as the game master, you will want to find an adventure party that fits your play style. Meaning, if you want to run a game that is a very narrative-driven game with a lot of role-playing and a lot of drama, and you end up with an adventure party, or if you're a player and that's what you want and you end up with a GM that wants to run a game that's kind of goofy and silly and whimsical and just a little tongue-in-cheek, or if you find a group that just wants to be murder hobos, which is basically the players that go around and kill everything in sight, that clash of playstyle will have an effect. It will make the game less enjoyable for you, less enjoyable for the party. So you want to take the time and find a group that fits your playstyle. You want to be on the same page, so if you're having a heavy adventure, you want to do that. If you're having a not so heavy, more whimsical adventure, you want to find a group that fits that. And there is no wrong way to play it. All of these are valid ways to play D&D or Pathfinder, and you shouldn't shun anyone just because that's how they play it, but you need to find the group that fits with you. And the way to do that when you're still looking for a group is just be very upfront with people. If you're mentioning or finding people online and you're not sure if you're going to fit in with the group, you can say, hey, can we do this as a test run? Just like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 sessions to see how it fits with the group, to see if the play style fits. I feel like most game masters will appreciate that because they don't want to be stuck having like 9 players. They want to find players that really get into their story and all kind of mesh. They won't want to just throw people together and not have a good, coherent group. So I think that's a good, valid way to say, I'm interested in playing, but I want to see if I fit. And it's good to be open with that. If you're a game master and you're looking for a group, it's perfectly all right to tell the players up front, and I say up front because you don't want to surprise them later and say, I don't want to do anymore. But if you say up front, I would like to play with you for a couple, 2 or 3 sessions to see how it works, and then go from there. After that, you can have a session 0 and see what works. But that sets up kind of a precedence that you're looking for an adventure party, they're looking for a game master, or you're looking to join a party, whatever it may be. It's a good thing to be just upfront about it and find the right fit for you. It's kind of like dating. You go on a date, and if it doesn't work the first time, like if you're not a good fit, you'll tell. And then you can move on to the next one, and then no one's feelings are hurt. The most you've wasted is a couple hours of time, and you move on, and it's okay to do that. Same goes with having an adventure party and finding the right adventure party for you. Take the time, find an adventure party that fits your play style and makes you feel welcome and makes you feel like you're having a good time. And then that will make an adventure party that will last for a very long time. And I've been very lucky, #blessed, that I've had some really good groups that I still play with and that I do enjoy playing with very much. But I know not everyone has the same experiences, so just be careful with that. Get out there, find your game group. Now, as a follow-up, at the beginning, I asked you the question for the comments below, so let me know in the comments below, what are you going to do this week to help yourself find a game group? Let me know in the comments below which of these methods you're going to do, or if you have another method, let me know that as well. I've been Richard. Thank you for watching. Hey Game Masters, I hope you found this video helpful in planning and running your own tabletop RPGs. If so, I invite you to hit that like button, then subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. You won't regret it.